Hello world, Mr. Girly Micro here again. The wonderful Girly Micro, after waiting 5 years to do a second podcast, or blog as it was then, podcast as it is now, did a second blog on the very same day. So here we are, recording podcast number 3 on the same day as podcast number 2. Who'd have thought it? Anyway, handing you over to Girly Micro. All opinions are our own.
This blog post was published on the 11th of October 2020 and is on writing and publishing scientific papers. Is it as hard as it seems?
Oh, yes, it is.
He's definitely right. Before I start, in the interest of full disclosure, I'm a published academic, but I have fewer than 30 papers, not the 200 plus that some of my colleagues have. You can see my publication page on the Girly Microbiologist blog if you're interested. There are reasons for this. One, I've only had my PhD since 2015, but the main reason is that I'm not your traditional academic. I have a clinical post which is over 50% of my time, and so my work is about moving research from the research academic setting into clinical practice to improve patient care. I can still clearly remember the stress that writing and submitting my first author scientific paper caused me. It's difficult to describe the transition from being a good student to being an academic. As students, we fear failure. I, like most academics, have never failed an exam and have what can only be described as a visceral dread of what that would mean. You then move into a world where 80% of grants will be rejected and failure becomes part of everyday life. When I submitted my first paper, I just hadn't come to terms with that yet. I was still worried about what the rejection would mean for me, how people would see me. Now it's just a fact of life. There are quite a lot of misconceptions about publishing. A lot of my friends mistakenly believe that scientists get paid for publishing their work. I know. It's quite the joke. The opposite is in fact true. If I want my work to reach the maximum number of people, I have to pay usually several £1,000s for my article to be what is known as open access, i.e. free for everyone to click and download. Therefore, dissemination of your work can be really expensive and not necessarily reach the right people, as most clinicians and patients won't be able to read articles requiring payment. It's one of the reasons why science communication is so key. One of the other common beliefs is that the collection of data is most of the work in getting a scientific publication. This one may be personal to me, but I've never found this to be the case. I've always had way more data than I have time to publish. I currently have over 18 papers in draft, as I struggle to find solid blocks of writing time. This could be because I find the planning of experiments and data collection an adventure. The writing, however, is stressful, and I'm always trying to fit it around something, finding blocks of time and focus around other tasks. I often just don't have the mental space to enjoy it. So what is the publishing process? So there are main stages to paper drafting and submission which are worth bearing in mind. First, journal and editor selection. Second, drafting. Third, co-author edits. Fourth, submission. Fifth, revision. And sixth, if you are lucky, and I hope you all are, hopefully publication. If not, it's kind of back to the beginning. Many authors jump straight into drafting without really spending enough or any time on journal selection. Many PhD students don't do this as they see their supervisors just jumping straight in. That's normally because supervisors know a lot more about the publishing landscape and so already know the background. So why is journal selection important? Manuscript publishing is like any other form of publishing. You need to choose the right journal for your content. Every journal will have specific topic areas they are interested in. They will also have specific formats they want you to follow in terms of length, numbers of figures and tables, as well as referencing style. If you start drafting without having an idea of where you are going to submit, you'll often not put the right emphasis on your writing to get it into the journal of your choice. You'll also waste time you could have spent on other things restructuring what you've already written. 2 key hints here. 1. Even title choice is linked to your journal of choice. Do they like long titles? Do they appreciate a witty title to draw readers in? 2, if you go through similar articles to the one you're planning to write and look at the length of different sections, you'll be able to understand where the emphasis lies. Do you need long method section? Do they really just focus on discussion? If you get these things right, you'll save yourself a ton of time later on with rewrites and rejections. What about co-authors? It is obviously crucial to include your co-authors, but I have learnt that it can be helpful to pick the point at which you circulate to them. If you include everyone during drafting, you can end up with too many different points of view that in the end mean that you end up with a manuscript that is unclear or meandering. I've learnt to include a few key people to get it to the publication stage and then circulate. Pick your key people carefully, especially if you're working in a multidisciplinary team, so you get the benefit of their perspective, but don't get too disheartened if they don't all agree on the paper themes. Not getting disheartened is a bit of a theme with publishing. Rejection is part of the process. Papers will become stronger for revisions and contribute more, thus having more impact. Remember that the criticisms are of the manuscript. They are not criticisms of you. My method for dealing with reviews is to open the email, read the comments, and then close that email down. Go and make a double gin and tonic and wait at least 48 hours before responding. The memory of the comments is never as bad as I thought, and once you take the emotion out of it, you can just crack on with those revisions. All opinions in this blog are my own.